Russia now? Is it preparing to invade Ukraine? That question is getting bigger by the day, as is the number of Russian troops near the Ukrainian border. An estimated 100,000 troops have been stationed here. 100,000 Russian troops at the border. There's no obvious reason for this build-up, no upcoming military exercise, no seasonal troop rotation. So what is Moscow up to? The US says this build-up is for a large-scale push into Ukraine, an invasion from multiple locations. This is what American intel suggests. It says Putin is considering an invasion next year with a total of 100 battalion tactical groups that could cross into Ukraine from Crimea, Russia and Belarus. The intel also suggests that Moscow has called up reservists to take part in this operation. Now, these are members of Russia's reserve force. How many of them? Tens of thousands, apparently, a scale unprecedented in the post-Soviet era. What will these reservists do? Their role would be to secure territory as Russian battalions advance. Does this mean that war is certain now? Well, honestly, it's hard to tell. The build-up is certainly worrisome, but like I said, Russia's motives are still unclear. This could be typical Russian posturing for you, and not the first of its kind. Moscow has a history of such brinkmanship, of such build-ups along Ukraine's border that lead to nothing. In fact, Russia did something similar as recently as April this year. Is Moscow really in a position to invade Ukraine? Well, I don't think so. Ukraine is the largest country in Europe besides Russia. It is bigger than Germany, France and Poland. Plus, its military too is the third largest in Europe. So conquering Ukraine and merging it into Russia is not going to be easy. Neither would it be feasible for President Vladimir Putin.
But what everyone does know is that tension is rising. The EU and Russia are blaming each other for the migrant crisis in Belarus. There's a build-up of Russian troops near the border with Ukraine. And the US is watching. Ukraine is the place to start. It used to be part of the Soviet Union, and even after independence, it remained an ally of Russia's. But the relationship frayed, and in 2014, Russia annexed Crimea and made a military incursion into eastern Ukraine in support of separatists. Putin knew this would bring condemnation, but he had his reasons. One of them we see in this article in July. He wrote, "I said that Russians and Ukrainians were one people, a single whole, and maintaining historic connections is one motivator. Security is another." This map is from the defence alliance NATO. It shows many of its members marked in light blue, and you can see how close they are to Russia. Ukraine isn't in NATO, but it is a military ally, and all of this is too close for comfort for Putin. And the US sees his actions on the Ukrainian border connecting with the migrant crisis in Belarus that we're watching play out.
This story is a very human drama, but the backdrop, that's geopolitics.
There's the BBC's Steve Rosenberg in Belarus this week. This country was also once part of the Soviet Union, but unlike Ukraine, it remains an ally of Russia. Next door to Belarus is Poland. It's an EU member, and the European Union is accusing Belarus of encouraging migrants to use it as a route into the EU. Belarus denies this, but thousands have come and in desperate conditions are trying to get into Poland. And this isn't just about military might. To understand Putin's plans, we need to think about energy too. This is the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. It runs from Russia to Western Europe, but it's not switched on yet. In fact, that's just been delayed by Germany. But here it is, going through the Baltic Sea. And when it's on, it'll increase Europe's reliance on Russian gas and reduce the volume of gas delivered via Ukraine. The UK believes that's a security concern. So does Ukraine.
If Nord Stream 2 is launched and the status of Ukraine as a transit country is not guaranteed, then Ukraine becomes more vulnerable in terms of its security and more vulnerable to potential Russian aggressive actions.
In one of the latest additions to Russia's arsenal of weapons, Russia has carried out another successful test of its Zircon hypersonic cruise missile. Russian defense military said that in a statement, the shot was conducted on a sea target in the waters of the White Sea. And the Zircon missile test hit a target in Russia's Arctic waters. It added that the missile eliminated its target with a direct hit. The Zircon had already undergone several tests in the recent years. At a time of growing tensions with the West, Moscow hopes the development of weapons will give it an edge in arms race with the United States. His comments come as the Western countries have for days raised alarm over the Russian military activity near Ukraine. Videos circulated recently on social media have shown Russian troops moving tanks and missiles towards the Ukrainian border. Washington even warned Moscow against making another serious mistake in the ex-Soviet country. But Moscow in turn has accused Kyiv and the West of warmongering. Putin said that the West is holding drills in the Black Sea and flying bombers near its borders. He told his French counterpart that the exercises were provocative. The Black Sea is a sensitive region for Russia. Moscow controls the Crimea Peninsula after annexing it from Ukraine in 2014. Since then, Kyiv has fought a conflict with pro-Russia rebels in the east.
Complete but not operational, the Nord Stream 2 project is put on hold. Germany has halted approval for this pipeline that will bring Russian gas into Europe. So is it a politically motivated decision, and what does it mean for gas prices that are already high? The 1,200-kilometer pipeline is owned by the Russian energy giant Gazprom, with investment from several European companies. It will carry 55 billion cubic meters of natural gas a year. Nord Stream 2 was built to run under the Baltic Sea and bypass Poland and Ukraine. Its predecessor, Nord Stream 1, used the same route. When launched, the two pipelines could account for up to 60% of Russia's gas exports to Europe. In August, the US imposed sanctions on Russian vessels laying the pipeline for the project.
Just over a year after a bloody conflict broke out between Armenia and Azerbaijan, fighting erupted once again on Tuesday. One Armenian death has been confirmed, with several others taken prisoner and defense positions destroyed. As night fell, mediation efforts from Russia resulted in a renewed ceasefire, but earlier in the day, both sides pointed fingers at the other. The fighting is the worst violence since a 44-day war last year over the enclave of Nagorno-Karabakh, a separatist region inside of Azerbaijan that is populated mainly by ethnic Armenians. That conflict killed over 6,500 people and saw Azerbaijan reclaim control over several areas. The unrest came to an end after Russia brokered another ceasefire, but tensions in the region continued to simmer.
Russia destroyed one of its own satellites using a weapon launched from the ground. The weapon hit the Cosmos 1408 satellite. This satellite was launched by Russia in 1982. It weighed almost 2,000 kilograms. It was lying defunct. It was orbiting the Earth at an altitude of 485 kilometers. Then Russia fired a missile and the satellite fell apart.
This is one of Russia's biggest submarines. The Delta IV is more than twice as long as the world's largest passenger airplane, and it can carry missiles weighing up to 185,000 pounds. It can even break through thick sea ice that's taller than a person. The submarine is part of Russia's growing arsenal of Arctic weapons and vessels, which includes a fleet of massive ships that can crush ice. But why is Putin flexing his muscle in the North Pole? We decoded Russia's latest activity in the Arctic, its growing bases, and weapons to find out. Russia held a high-tech training in March 2021. This was the first time the country surfaced 3 submarines at the same time. The Russian government says it even tested firing a torpedo from under the ice. Experts say it's designed to send a message to the West that the Russian military is strong and willing to act. But there's another more strategic reason. As Arctic ice melts, it's opening up new opportunities. The region is believed to hold almost a quarter of the world's untapped oil and gas. Reports project that control over the Arctic's resources would give Russia economic stability. Currently, oil and gas account for roughly 60% of Russia's export revenue and 30% of its federal budget. And experts say that's why Russia is expanding its military bases here. The route stretches from the Bering Strait to the Kara Gates along Russia's Arctic coast and cuts travel time for ships going from Asia to Europe in half compared to the Suez Canal. Russia has utilized it for centuries to deliver food and other supplies to residents who live along its Arctic coastline. In 2020, shipping traffic through the Russian Arctic rose by about 50%, but it amounts to only 3% of the traffic that goes through the Suez Canal. Putin has said he even sees control of the Northern Sea Route as a huge economic opportunity for Russia. As a result, the country has developed a massive fleet of icebreaker ships to access the route year-round. Right now it has about 50, and it's building more. But Russia is the only country with icebreaker ships that are nuclear-powered, which means they run on uranium and can go as long as 7 years without refueling. It's a major advantage out in remote Arctic waters. Today, Russia uses its icebreakers to clear the way for cargo ships and military vessels, and to access natural resources. The US, on the other hand, has only one icebreaker that compares in size to Russia's larger ships. And some say this is just the beginning of a race to control one of the last remote spots on the planet.